Hey everyone, I hope this video finds you well. I hope you are safe and healthy as you see this, as we live through this crazy time of isolation and quarantining and statewide lockdown because of the coronavirus. I just pray that you guys are all safe and healthy. I wanted to do this video because I know we can't meet. Kelsey and I were very disappointed not being able to do our Bible study in our house for right now, and so I thought I would utilize this platform of social media and YouTube and things like that to do a little bit of learning and some study and share some things that I found enlightening and encouraging. So I wanted to share that with you today. I found some of this while I was studying some Bible Project themes and videos and some of their lessons, and I came across something that I thought would be really interesting and encouraging. So today the lesson is going to be a word study, and so I know that hopefully some of you at this point aren't, your eyes aren't glazing over and you're not rolling the back of your heads when I mention something like word study. But I thought this is a very powerful theme, something that can be very encouraging, like I said before, and something that's kind of really cool that I found that I wanted to share and hopefully help us learn together and grow together. So one of the themes that I stumbled across was on martyr. So I think that usually when we think of martyr, we think of kind of the common term or the common connotation, which is that someone who dies for a set of ideals, someone who's willing to die for something they believe in. And so I wanted to look into what is a martyr. What is a martyr? What's the definition? What does it look like in the biblical context? So in terms of the definition, the Merriam-Webster dictionary describes a martyr in a couple definitions, but here are two that I pulled out that I thought were kind of helpful. The first is kind of along with our modern understanding of what a martyr is. So it says it's a person who sacrifices something of great value, and especially life itself, for the sake of a principle. The other definition is a person who voluntarily suffers death as the penalty of witnessing to and refusing to renounce a religion. And I think that the second definition is probably a little more true to the original meaning of the word martyr, as the word martyr in Greek is actually just the word witness. So I think the second definition, saying that it's someone who's willing to face penalty for witnessing, and especially about religion, because a lot of times it was about God calling people to be witnesses. So that kind of leads us to the next point. What is a witness? I think sometimes we have an idea of what a witness might be in a court setting. Maybe someone who witnessed an event, whether there's a car accident or something like that, where you have an eyewitness who was there, who saw it happen. Again, we can turn to the dictionary definition, and a witness, as described by Merriam-Webster, is a couple definitions here. One is one asked to be present at a transaction, so as to be able to testify to its having taken place. The other is one who has personal knowledge of something. And I think that one, again, that second definition is the one that rings more true, the one that's closer to what a witness is in the biblical context. And the reason I say that, actually there's many examples of witness and witnessing and witnesses in the Bible, and they're used for both aspects, both in kind of a legal or eyewitness account, but also someone who is to bear witness, which means to have a personal knowledge of someone or something, and then to tell people about it. So in terms of the biblical context, a couple places we can look. In terms of the legal setting, obviously I think the first one we might think of is in the Torah, the law, as it were, the law that was, if there is a crime or someone commits a sin or evil in the land of Israel, that There must be 2 or 3 witnesses to that in order to punish them, which usually ended in stoning. But there always must be 2 or 3 witnesses. So there the witnesses are kind of used in a almost a legal term, like you would in a courtroom. If you're calling witnesses, if you're trying to convict someone of a crime or acquit them of a crime, you usually want some key witnesses, someone who is there, who can give testimony or can say, yes, this happened, or no, this didn't happen. The other one from the New Testament is kind of along the same lines. It's Jesus talking in Matthew chapter 18, verse 15. And it says, so verse 15 says, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. So I think Jesus again is going back to the Torah and saying, this was the law, this is the way it is, that you need witnesses, 2 or 3 witnesses. But more here seems to be that the witnesses maybe didn't necessarily see this sin. I guess you can kind of gain from this verse that maybe those 2 or 3 witnesses didn't see the transgression, but that they were actually there to hold witness or stand witness as that you did go to your brother and try to confront him with your problem, and that and what the result was, what that person said or did, whether they accepted the rebuke or if they denied it. So then again, it goes on to the whole congregation and so on. So those are kind of legal settings, kind of legal ways you could see witnessing in the Bible. But more often, I think you might see it's witness being used as someone who's bearing testimony, someone who's bearing witness. You'll see a lot in the Bible. A lot of times, again, in the Old Testament, whether it be Exodus or Joshua and situations like that, you might read where it seems almost silly that sometimes they would erect a rock or an altar or a pillar or something, and they would say, this rock is a witness between me and you, as if the rock can be personified or can speak out in testimony. But a lot of times it's a witness in that aspect would be used as a reminder. Like when we come and see this rock or this thing, this place is a witness to us to remember of what happened here between 2 parties. God often called himself as his own witness, which might seem kind of crazy. It seems almost like, wait a minute, you can't call yourself as a witness here. But yeah, often that, a witness in the Old Testament or throughout the Bible in terms of bearing testimony, again, was used a lot of times as you experience something. For instance, the Israelites, God told them, go, be my witness to the nations. Be my witness to the generations of Israel, that you may tell them what I have done for you. And witnessing there means a little bit more, I think, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. But in the New Testament, we can look here at Luke chapter 24, and starting in verse 46. This is Jesus talking, and this is after the resurrection, when Jesus comes back to his disciples, and just before verse 46, it says that Jesus opened their minds to the scriptures and the happenings of him, so that they may understand. And verse 46 says, and Jesus said to them, thus it is written, that the Christ should suffer and on the 3rd day rise from the dead, and that repentance for forgiveness of sins should be proclaimed in his name to all nations, beginning from Jerusalem. You are my witnesses of these things, and behold, I am sending the promise of my Father upon you. So I think this one especially is very telling of what witness, what I want to kind of focus on in this lesson about being a witness. It seems so obviously Jesus is saying, listen, you've seen all of this. You are eyewitnesses. You've seen my ministry, my death, my resurrection. And not only that, but now that you've seen it, go and tell people. Go and tell people about me. Go tell people what you saw and what I'm doing in the kingdom that is coming, and the kingdom that is here. And I think part of that witness is living as Jesus told them to live. He told us to live, as shown by the Sermon on the Mount. What better way to show witness of something than to live it? I think that's what Jesus is calling, what God is calling us to do when he calls us to be witnesses, is not only proclaim the gospel, tell people about him, but also live it, right? Live as if you have witnessed the change, as if you are witnessing the new creation, the new kingdom here now. And so I think that kind of goes a little deeper into witnessing than what we might think. I think sometimes when we think of bearing witness, we might say, well, yeah, I would tell people about Jesus, right? Go and stand on the street corners and preach to the people on the street, or go knock on doors, or, tell people, hey, let me tell you about Jesus. And as you're sitting with them on the elevator, and then they get very uncomfortable. But I think it's more than that. So to be a witness, I think going back to that very first definition that we looked at for martyr and witness, is that you have a personal understanding, a personal relationship with the thing that you're witnessing about, a personal knowledge. And so I think that, when we talk about being a witness, again, even back to the court case, when you're calling witnesses for a court or for some kind of legal setting, you want witnesses who know their stuff. You want someone who can testify to the character of the one on trial, or that can testify to what happened, and really when they were there, not that they were walking by and, well, yeah, I kind of saw this and maybe I heard that, but that's about it. I just kind of have a passing knowledge. No, they want someone who was there, who witnessed it, right? Who has a deep personal understanding.